Welcome back to Adventure Freaks. I'm Ray. I just returned from 3 weeks in Italy, and I want to share what I absolutely loved and what I didn't love so much. So this won't be a typical video. This is going to be my honest experience of traveling through some towns and cities in Italy, including some touristy areas, and one in particular that was deeply personal. So let's dive in. One of the things that made this trip so special was I got to share it with my 14-year-old son. This was his first time in Europe, and I just had a sense that this would be this incredible, memorable experience that both of us would never forget. I wanted him to experience the magic of travel, of being in a place where everything from the language, the architecture, the food is completely different. And we had some amazing moments. The deeply personal experience that I mentioned was that we got to visit the town that my great-grandfather was from. It's called Tignale Prabione, and this is located in the Lake Garda region, which is astonishingly beautiful. It's this tiny mountaintop village that has incredible views of Lake Garda. It feels like you're actually on top of the world. And it felt a little like stepping into the past. We based ourselves in a town called Sirmione, which is a beautiful town with lakeside beaches, cafes with incredible views of the lake. There's a castle there in an old town that's just spectacular. I kept asking myself, why would anybody ever want to leave this part of the world? It's so beautiful in every direction you look in. To make it even more memorable, I rented a Vespa and we departed from Sirmione. We were told it would take approximately 40 minutes to reach Tignale, where my great-grandfather was from, and it took us about 3 hours. Taking a Vespa through the Alps on Lake Garda is an experience you'll never forget. Just the two of us winding through the mountains. My son worked the camera while riding on the back of the Vespa, one arm holding on to me and the other holding the camera. He captured some amazing, amazing footage. And at times it was a little terrifying with the traffic, the trucks, there was tunnels that were spectacular, and the curves in the high mountains that just drop off into the abyss. But overall, it was an incredible experience, and one that I don't think that either one of us will ever forget. Now let's dive in and talk about what I loved about Italy. So the first thing I noticed when I arrive in Italy is the pace of life. I truly appreciate this aspect of Italy. Everything just slows down. People move at a different pace. And when you first arrive, you have to be very conscious and aware to adjust to that pace. And once you do, and you find that groove, you just feel much more relaxed. But it does take a minute to find that groove, but it's one of the things I truly appreciate. They enjoy long lunches, there's no rush, conversations are longer, no one seems to be pushy or rushing through the day, and that slower rhythm is truly refreshing. Another thing that I truly appreciated, the people. For the most part, Italians are very kind, warm, very helpful. Even when we didn't speak the language, people tried to connect. There was a generosity and a spirit I felt again and again, and so did my son, especially in the smaller towns. It wasn't uncommon for strangers to offer guidance, share local tips, or just smile and greet you. It's something that stood out because it's not always like that in the US. And then there is the beauty. I just learned this, but Italy has the most UNESCO World Heritage Sites out of every country in the world. And that's not shocking. Italy is one of the most visually stunning places anybody could go to, and it doesn't matter what part of the country you're in. Every direction you turn, whether you're in a quiet alleyway or looking over the sea, it truly feels like a painting. I kept saying to my son it felt like walking through a museum. Even ordinary moments like grabbing a cup of coffee at a cafe, you're surrounded by history, charm, postcard views. And speaking of coffee and food, incredible. The places we visited offered something incredibly good. And although there were some regional differences, like the Sicilian dishes compared to those in Lake Garda, It was consistently hard to go wrong. The pastries were flaky and fresh. The cappuccinos were rich and velvety. And don't even get me started on the pasta and seafood. We both loved it. I always ask the expats that I interview, what does it cost to actually eat in some of the local ma and pa restaurants? To eat like a local. And the truth is, if you know where to look, you can find some truly delicious and budget-friendly meals. You can find incredible deals every morning. There are bakeries and cafes that offer €5 breakfasts that include a fresh pastry, fresh squeezed orange juice, and a cappuccino. In the evenings, I found deals, aperitivo deals. I'm talking about Aperol Spritz, a few bites of fish, a small salad, fries, and homemade garlic bread, all for just €5. Of course, if you're going to go out to a nice sit-down restaurant, you're going to pay 10 to 15 euros, depending on what you get. And if you add a drink like a Coca-Cola or a glass of wine to that, you can add an additional $3 to $5. But overall, the value of what you get is truly incredible. Thinking about moving abroad? Adventure Freaks is packed with resources to help you every step of the way. Want immigration support? We connect you with experts who understand the process inside and out, giving you the most up-to-date, reliable information. No more sifting through outdated websites or confusing embassy pages. You can click on the country you're interested in and scroll down and see our helpful links here. Here's immigration and visas, which will connect you with an immigration lawyer in that country. Curious about life abroad? Talk to expats who've already made the move, all of which we've done podcasts with on our YouTube channel. Whether it's day-to-day living or navigating local bureaucracy, they've been there and can share their firsthand experience. You can also book a one-on-one consultation with me. I've spoken with hundreds of expats and professionals around the world, and I'm here to help you navigate the process and find the right destination for you. Not sure where to go? Our Ideal Destination Finder can help. Answer 20 simple questions and discover the top 3 countries that match your lifestyle and priorities, all based on your answers. Plus, you can dive into our helpful articles covering everything from finding housing to understanding healthcare abroad. AdventureFreaks.com makes it easy to get the answers you need straight from the source. If you're ready to start your journey, we're here to help. Now, as much as I loved the trip, there were a few things I didn't love. The first and probably the biggest was actually a huge mistake I made, and this is to just make sure that you don't do the same when you go travel and explore Italy for living or retiring. So I booked an Airbnb approximately 6 months prior to us departing. This Airbnb is located in Sicily. Sicily gets very, very hot in the summer. It's the southernmost part of Italy. So typically temps are in the 90s and 100s every day. And depending on where you're at in Sicily, some areas can be more dry, so it's a drier heat. It's not as intense. But when you head to the northern coast where we stayed in Cefalù, the heat is very intense and it's extremely humid, which can be very uncomfortable. So we booked this Airbnb in Cefalù, and when we arrived, there was a heat advisory. It was in the 90s, the humidity was in the 80s, and we got off the train, and it took us approximately 10-15 minutes to walk to the Airbnb. And when we arrived, we were drenched in sweat. There was a heat advisory that day, and it was just intense. We had to climb, I'd say, 4 flights of stairs, which is not an issue. I knew about that because that's one of the reasons I selected this particular Airbnb. It was a very charming, old-school Italian place with a terrace of the ocean and the beach, and just quite charming. I didn't notice that there was no air conditioning. And when we reached the top of the apartment, it was so balmy and so hot that it was worse than what it was like outside. And when I asked the woman where the air conditioning was, she said there wasn't any. And I just, at that moment, I looked at my son and he looked at me, and we were just drenched in sweat. And so was the host that was greeting us and taking us up. She was just drenched in sweat. And I said, so I don't know if we're going to be able to sleep. It's so hot and uncomfortable up here. And she said, just you have 2 fans, you could turn the fans on. Well, the fans didn't help. We left the fans on all night and we continued to sweat. We couldn't sleep and we were just absolutely miserable. So what we had to do is find another Airbnb. And I quickly jumped on that because I noticed there were just a select few. It's a very hot, popular time in Cefalù in the summer, and to find an Airbnb, we were really lucky. But we had to double our cost. We paid an additional $700 to stay for 5 days, and we never got a refund because I missed the point that they didn't have AC. Now, that said, I do believe that if you're going to go to stay in Sicily in the summer, especially July and August when it's really intense, make sure you look through the entire ad to ensure you have AC, because you just can't sleep. We were absolutely miserable, and was just shocked that people still today are offering rooms in Sicily in the middle of the summer without AC. But that was my bad, and we found a new place. Big mistake, and it was costly. The second challenge that we noticed were the crowds. Summer in Italy, especially in July and August, is peak season, peak tourist season. And it definitely shows. Some of the most beautiful towns that you want to see are just overflowing with tourists and people. Our experience in Taormina, for example, this is a beautiful town on top of a mountain in Sicily. It's an absolute must-see if you're going to travel to Sicily. But by evening, the streets swell into something like you'd see on rush hour in New York City. I mean, there's people bumping into you, and there's so many people moving up and down the alleys and through the streets and these beautiful cobblestone streets that it's challenging to navigate. And that kind of crowd can make it hard for some to enjoy the charm of the place. And with that surge in tourism comes the other downside, the prices. Everything from accommodations, dining out, even basic services gets more expensive during the high season. It's just how it goes. But what I didn't expect was just how exhausted some of the locals seemed. I spoke with Giuseppe, the man who rented the Airbnb to us in Taormina. Spectacular place to stay. We had an incredible view. We were on top of this mountain with a balcony that just had an amazing view of the ocean and just the beauty. And I have some imagery that I'm going to share here. But Giuseppe told us that many of the people that work in the service industry, in the restaurants, in the boutique shops, get burned out quickly during the summer. He said the crowds are too much, tourism is too high, and the nonstop days and the pressure to serve just takes a toll. And I could feel it. Not that people were rude, they weren't, but the energy shifted. Service sometimes felt a bit rushed, a bit checked out, and understandably so. If I had to do it again, I'd go either in April or May, or September and October, when the weather is great still and the tourist crowds have calmed down. However, if you're taking your kids, your only option typically is summertime during their summer break. But outside of the tourist season, it will definitely be a more relaxed and personable experience. And you will certainly find better deals as well. Still, even with those challenges, Italy exceeded my expectations as always. It's one of the few places I've been that truly lives up to the hype. The landscapes, the history, the people. It all came together in a way that leaves a lasting mark. It reminded me that slower is better sometimes, that beauty and kindness are worth chasing, and sharing a place like this with somebody you love, in my case, my son, makes every moment richer. So if you're thinking about visiting Italy or moving there someday, just go in with open eyes. It's not perfect, but it's magical. If you found this video helpful and inspiring, remember to subscribe, like, and share it with somebody who you think would enjoy this content. And don't forget to check out adventurefreaks.com. It's an incredible resource for anything you need about moving and living abroad. And as always, I'm Ray. This is Adventure Freaks, showing you how to live better for less.